Hello, everybody. Welcome to the official Roo Code Office Hours podcast. My name is Hannes Rudolph, and I'm the community manager here at Roo Code. Hello, everybody. Today, I am official Roo Code joined by several guests. I'm joined by Matt Rubens and Dan from our development team, as well as John Stearns from Roo.vet and Danny, our CEO, and the CEO of Roo.vet as well. So welcome, everybody. Oh, and we also have one more Gosu coder. Adam will be here a little later on for some discussions about the latest model drops and such. So welcome, everybody. I guess introductions we can start with. John.
Yeah,
You're with Roo.vet, eh? How long have you been there?
that's right. I've been with the company about 3.5 years now, Hannes. I'm CTO. A little about me. I've been a hands-on software engineer for a little over 20 years now. Still really love rolling up my sleeves and getting my hands dirty. Even more so now, I would say, with AI-driven development, where I can still contribute code while focusing most of my energy on my day job, which is managing our small but mighty software engineering team. So it's a little bit about me. Really excited to be here. Thanks for having me. We're obviously huge proponents of Roo Code over here, and it's a topic I'm really passionate about.
Very cool. It's interesting here. So a fun fact, I guess, for everybody watching, John Stearns was the first contributor to Roo Code. He actually, I guess, made the first pull request. Is it, Matt, to the Roo Code fork?
Yeah, I think by accident. We were trying to fix something and ended up creating the fork, and here we are.
Yeah. Huh. Well, for our first segment here, we are going to get into discussing a bit about our cloud agents. So, Matt, can you tell me a little more about our cloud agents? And Sa, can you swap the camera to the speaker as we go?
Yeah, so I'm super excited to have RooVet on the call here. Some of you know I used to work at RooVet before the Roo Code took over my life, but we continue to have a really close relationship with the team there, and they've been helping us test out new features as we go. One of the new features that we've been working on that maybe we haven't talked about quite as much as we're going to going forward is that Roo's just been getting a lot better at writing code. I mean, you all have probably seen this from the extension side of things. And it's been an amazing collaboration with the community, and a lot of these features, the models have gotten better, but also the harness has gotten better to make it so that Roo can just do so much autonomously now. And as it's gotten better, we've started thinking more about, how we interact with Roo. Like right now, that's led to things like remote control, where I'll kick off a task and then I have 5 or 10 or sometimes 20 or even 30 minutes to just do other stuff. And as we've done that more, we've been thinking about, well, does Roo actually need to be taking over my editor right now? Or could I be doing other things? Or could I be doing more of these things at once? So the big thing we've been working on is actually getting Roo to run in the cloud headlessly. If you imagine the same VS Code that we all know and love, but running in a sandbox environment in the cloud. So we've been working on that. And setting it up so you can run multiple and that you can set up the right prompts that work well for your team or for you on it. And we've been testing this a lot with the RooVet team. And there's a few different ways to interact with them. Hannes is going to get to it later. But I just wanted to provide some of the context is basically what can happen if Roo can run anywhere, and what does that enable you to do, and how does that change software development? So that's just the setting the stage. John from RooVet and I'll chime in as well. We can talk more about how we've been using it and testing it out, and what we're excited to release to you all soon.
Here I've got a few questions to start things off, John. What are some non-obvious behavior changes that you've noticed in your guys' team at RooVet as you guys have started to use Roo Code? And the cloud agents, really.
Yeah, I think, specific, probably more specific to the cloud agent, I would say. So we hooked up the remote Slack bot into our company Slack account, which essentially allows any employee at the company to interact with a remote. One non-obvious behavior change that came out of that, I think, is people don't wait around to be unblocked anymore. Non-engineers especially just ask our remote agent first. And I think it has changed the default behavior from, schedule a meeting or talk to an engineer to just try it yourself and see if you can, figure out an answer to your question by talking to remote and getting yourself unblocked.
Yeah. Okay. Then that's very interesting. The whole talking to yourself to getting things unblocked, or talking to remote to get things unblocked. Can you tell me a little bit more about some of the ways you guys use the Slack integration that I guess is going to be new for viewers here? What
Yeah.
kind of story, what kind of things do people, how are they using this different than they would have just used Roo Code in a standard way?
Yeah, good question. It feels like the IDE environment is great for our engineers, but we tried some experiments here to get non-engineers running VS Code and running Roo Code locally and starting a local server. And while we were able to get it up and running on some folks' laptops, it was kind of a pain, and it fizzled out pretty quickly. The non-engineers, just aren't comfortable working in an IDE. So that's why I think, Remote and the Slack bot was just a big game changer for us, in that now it made interacting with our code base super accessible to the entire company. Anybody can kick off a remote task with a simple Slack message.
Yeah. What is one thing that's different about software development at Roo.vet because of for the regular engineers? What's one thing that's different now that they're using these cloud agents to supplement their regular Roo Code behavior?
Yeah. Well, I think for the engineers, at least for myself, and I think Matt alluded to this earlier, is I have a new multitasking superpower in that, I can have work going on my IDE, and then maybe I'll have a thought, or somebody will send me a Slack message and I'll realize I have to do something else. And instead of, stopping my primary work stream, I can just throw a message into Slack and kick off a remote task to start handling that, coding task that's needed. And maybe I'll check back on it in 30 minutes or 40 minutes. And I can have multiple of those going at any time. And the multitasking is really the biggest, the latest unlock.
That's very interesting. I understand you have a demo that you can show us where you guys did this end-to-end process, start to finish with a task through Slack, right into using the remote agents.
Yes.
Get your screen on. Sorry.
Sure. Yeah. Happy to walk you guys through this real quick. So what I'm going to show is just a real simple example of a product manager at Roo using our remote Slack bot to kick off a coding task to implement a product change idea that product manager had. And before I share my screen, I'll give a little more context about the problem that this product manager was trying to solve. One of the, counter metrics we monitor here at RooVet is something called declined shift request. And what that means is basically a hospital posted a shift to our platform, then a veterinarian who's interested in working that shift requested the shift from the hospital. And then for whatever reason, that hospital declines the veterinarian's request to work their shift. This doesn't happen very often, but when it does, it's just a bad experience all around. So it's something we monitor. So this product manager, while looking at the data here at Roo, realized that some shifts were getting multiple declined shift requests with the reason stating that the shift is no longer needed. Well, if the shift is no longer needed, then why is it still posted on our platform? And this I thought was a really cool way of, solving this problem and shipping a small feature without any support from engineering. So is my screen showing up? There it is. Okay. So if you look at just the right pane here, this is the entire Slack thread where our senior PM kicked off the Slack message, and she said, when the hospital selects the shift is no longer needed option from the side panel after declining a request, let's just pop up a simple modal asking the hospital user if they would also like to remove the shift from the platform since they said it's no longer needed. This is posted in a public Slack channel that we have here called Remote Tasks, which is kind of a fun channel to follow along with. So whenever someone posts a request here, we all kind of, start following along. The remote agent does a great job keeping the Slack channel or the Slack thread up to date with everything it's doing. But we also like to click into the remote cloud here and follow along, with everything that's happening with the task. Great. So eventually it posts an update here that it has a pull request ready. That's usually where I jump in and start, reviewing the code. So yeah, here's the nice PR that was created by the remote agent to implement this feature. Code was, pretty straightforward, good unit test coverage, things like that. I was happy with it. There were a few kinks, they don't always run perfectly smooth. I think with this one, not all the tests were passing. I think there was a couple TypeScript errors that slipped through somehow. So we're still fine tuning this agent with our kind of Docker configuration and things like that. But this one was a pretty good example that ran fairly smoothly. Once I review the code, generally what I'll do next is I'll just deploy it to one of our development environments. That way, anyone that wants to check it out or help me test it, whether it's the PM or the designer wants to see how it looks, things like that, anybody can check it out. And then, once it's in our dev environment, I can just pull up, a shift request here and choose to decline it with the option shift no longer needed. When I click decline request, this new modal pops up now, thanks to this great idea. And it's asking me if I would also like to remove the shift. And I'll say yes. Let's say, internal staff relief was found. And I remove the shift. And right there, we've solved a problem for our users. And, the turnaround time was quick. You'll see in this Slack thread some healthy debate between myself and the design team about just some tweaks, labels for the buttons and things like that, just to make sure it's good and that we're all proud of the work. And then, at the very end of the thread, you'll see, that it was shipped to production. And I thought that was just a really cool end-to-end experience.
Yeah. That's really cool. Thank you for that demo. When did you guys first realize that agents belong inside the team's chat, not just the IDE? Like the notion that you're going to, I see a lot of these other tools out there where you can sort of boot off an agent through this interface or that interface, but the idea that this is part of your guys' daily interaction. So you guys are having a discussion and then you can just drag in remote through, at mentioning it in Slack. When did you guys first realize that this was something that was going to change how you guys interacted with your code base?
Yeah, these are exciting times. And when Matt shared with us this new capability to essentially launch Roo Code in the cloud from a Slack bot, the first thing we did was, fire up a Slack channel where we could start playing with it. And, I think one of the more exciting moments there was seeing the non-engineers get involved. And I think, Lucy, who is on our customer service team, and I think she's up there in the Roo Vet headquarters at the moment. She had, and I'll let her tell this story if she's there and wants to. But
I ran into a customer phone call, but Audrey, who was a secondhand witness, Audrey, who is chief of staff at Roo Vet, and has been Roomotes, as we call them, aficionado, to say the least.
Yes. Hi, everyone. I am just first and foremost, I'm a big fan of Remote. And that's coming from someone who knows like not a single technical thing. And if I call a lot of things on this call, it's because that's what they are to me. I just don't really understand it. But Remote, specifically the Slack integration, has been so powerful for me for 3 use cases, I think, in particular. One is you can ask it questions and like not even wanting to build anything in the product, you can ask it questions to better understand the logic that's been built into the product. So, for example, the other day I was trying to figure out how much we charge our hospitals if they cancel a confirmed shift. And I could go through our Notion docs or look on like the policies online, or I could just select Roomo and be like, at Roomo, how much do we charge our hospitals for canceling? And it just responds in like a human, and then like such clear bullets. And it took me like 30 seconds to find that answer. So that's been great. Also having it in the Slack channel where I can spy on, maybe that's not the right word, but look at what other folks are asking has been helpful as well. And like the cross-learning and osmosis that happens in the channel is amazing. The second use case is, which I've only done once, but I've seen some of our other non-engineers in the organization use a bunch of times, is like simple bug fixes. I feel like it really just democratizes that and allows anybody to come in. And I think the analogy that you used is, it's like you're walking on the beach and you see trash and you just like pick up trash and put it into a trash can. That's exactly what like fixing bugs with Roo Code has felt like. So the other day I was playing around in our admin portal and I realized one of the buttons to like save a primary contact didn't work. And I can't share my screen, but I can tell you exactly what I wrote, which was at Roomo in the admin platform, when I click on manage users to set a hospital's primary contact, it does not let me save the contact. Can you fix this? And then I sent him a screenshot and the URL. I don't know if they needed the screenshot of the URL, but I was like, I'll just give it what I would give another person if they were to fix it. And Roo just fixed it, created a PR, and then John went in, reviewed the PR, and fixed the bug. So that was super cool for me to like watch and feel like I did something, even though all I did was ask Roo to fix it. And then the last use case, which I think we're still figuring out, is figuring out in the sense of like what this means for the organization in terms of software development, but Roomo's ability to orchestrate and build more complex features has been cool for me to be able to test and see how far I can take an idea just via a conversation with the Slack bot. So fresh example. This was last night. We've been talking about potentially changing some of the policies for some of our users on the platform. And as with any policy change, there's just a lot of dependencies and complexities in the flows, right? There's the logic you have to change, but then there's also on the front end, like the messaging that a user sees when they violate the policy. But I was like, heck it, let me just like ask Roo to build the entire flow. And Roo did it, but I don't know how good of a job it did because I can't read PRs, but according to John, it did like 80%, hopefully.
80% of the way, I would say. Yeah.
But what was really fun was to watch kind of the reaction that happened on that Slack thread. You had PMs coming in, designers coming in, our product marketing managers jumping in, John was jumping in, and everybody was like, folks, it ranged from excitement that like Roo did something that probably might have taken a human multiple days or weeks to do, to just like terror that Audrey, the non-product, non-engineer, non-anything related to software development, is about to like create cause a merge that hasn't thought through all of the implications of what this feature launch could be. Ultimately, we didn't merge any of the PRs, obviously, but it's cool.
Yeah.
And I think it just like changes how we think about.
You didn't close them either, did you?
No, it's like
Open.
going out there.
Well, that leads to one of our next questions or thoughts. So you've taken all this stuff and you've made pull requests, but the engineers aren't they going to sort of be like, hey, what's all this mess? What's going on? And that's where we've come into our PR reviewing method. The agent, so booting off a task, yeah, that's great, but what's the point of having 20 AI slop PRs? There's got to be a way to weed through them, is what I guess you guys actually experienced. So can you guys tell me, I'm not sure who's better to answer this, but can you tell me about how your system for reviewing PRs has changed, how it is now versus how it was before you had a PR reviewer?
John,
Yeah, I mean,
Well, and also you might want to contextualize, John, like the new problem of just, Roo caused a problem in terms of explosion of PRs on some level. And then we try to solve the problem with reviewers. Seems like both arcs of both stories is probably valuable to everybody.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, so we've been using AI code reviews here at RooVet for maybe close to a year now, and we started with a tool called Ellipsis, and we've gotten a ton of value out of that. It was very obvious right out of the gate that AI code reviews will oftentimes catch a lot of the nuances that our human reviewers would normally miss. So yeah, I was immediately a big fan of what I was seeing from AI code reviews. Just recently, we enabled the new Roo Viewer feature, and now we essentially have dual AI code reviewers on all our PRs, which has also been interesting because they both have very different perspectives and opinions, and now we're covering all the bases, it feels like. So now, yeah, 2 AI code reviewers and then 1 human reviewer is how we get our PRs merged here at RooVet. Yeah, and to Danny's point, with the ability to create PRs from Slack, regardless of your role in the company, that does create some questionable PRs flying around. And one thing we had to do is we had to define a pretty good process for managing those. And the way we did it was essentially to require an approval from a PM, a designer, and an engineer on any remote PR that gets opened. We kind of have an on-call rotation. So each week, one of each of those roles are on call, and their job is to monitor that Slack channel and monitor GitHub and make decisions about these PRs that are coming out of the blue.
What were those people's initial reactions, John, to seeing the remotes? And I ask because I imagine others in other organizations might experience that initial shock. Oh, you want to take this?
Can I jump? And then John can swoop in and tell us how he saved the day. But I created a mess for John, and I'm happy to talk about it. So after my first PR, the one that I mentioned about the admin portal got merged, I was like, whoa, this is so cool. I need like everybody at the company like picking up trash and using this. But it's still kind of intimidating, even though it's a Slack bot. It's for a non-technical person, I think it still feels you've kind of always been like trained to think that if you're not technical and you try to do something technical in a tech product, that you are probably going to just end up breaking something because you're not really thinking through all of the implications of your actions. And I think that same mental model applies, even though, like this is a Slack bot and technically isn't doing anything. So I was like, John, let's partner up and write out like a Remote 101 for non-engineers, make it like, basically as simple and approachable as possible, and then blast it to like our entire like general Slack channel.
Man.
Tell everybody to use Remote starting tomorrow to like fix whatever they see on the platform. And I was just like excited and ready to go, posted it, and then immediately got pings from like folks from all over the organization, but particularly I think from like the product team, who were like, whoa. I didn't realize you were letting everybody like touch our product. And that's when John swooped in and came up with a very thoughtful process for how we go about this.
Yeah, that was the moment when we realized that we may have jumped the gun a little early there. But the initial reactions from the non-technical folks was excitement. Like, oh my gosh, I'm able to do all these things that I couldn't do before.
The engineers must have started pulling their hair out.
The immediate reaction from the technical people and the designers and the PMs was, people were pretty scared of what this meant and pretty nervous about what was going to develop. So,
lots of functions in every modern software development organization are used to a process that starts with a piece of paper, a document that's written before you write code, a spec, and a design that's thought through before you write code. And we've moved into a prototype first world, and the software development processes and norms that people expect haven't really caught up. And that's part of what has to get solved too, in order to make max use of the throughput potential and the ability for more eyes on the trash picking up on the beach, so to speak. And that's true. There's software workflow that needs to happen. Your non-engineers don't really want to go to GitHub to approve workflow, because that's not where they're used to doing that. But there's also just a mentality shift that every organization, regardless as to whether or not they have good workflow that's been built for them or not, is going to have to go through. And that's a question that I ask myself all the time: is how do we bring the rest of the world along to the new reality of software development?
Yeah, I've almost every engineering team I've worked on, the flow has been that someone opens a PR and then everyone is just working to help get that PR over the line at the pull request. And I've given people a lot of feedback, don't let it die. Your job's to get it all the way done. And that's just different in this world where we prototype first. There's such a low bar to getting your ideas into reality. Honestly, it probably feels kind of similar to running an open source project in a way. You just get a lot of contributions and there's a lot of good ideas in there. And some of them aren't exactly right or exactly the right way. But you really have to change the way you operate, I think, to not go for 100% completion and just find the important things that move you forward and be willing to just throw away slop or throw away things that aren't good. But it's been hard, I think, for organizations to adapt to that. I think it's going to take work.
How do you keep Roo Code to adhering to the design system that your company, in this case Roovet, how do you guys keep Roo Code on track? What methods, so that when these people are making these pull requests, they're less likely to get axed by the PR review?
Yeah,
Is Lizzie on the call, by the way? Do we know if Lizzie's on the call? I don't know if she is. I don't know.
She was unable to make it.
Okay. Sorry to interrupt. John,
no problem.
Lizzie's our lead designer. We were hoping we could have her on today to give her perspective on this. But to your question, Hannes, one thing that we did recently to help kind of Roo Code conform to our design systems is we took over one of our tech debt sprints, and we invested in building a really well-defined, AI-friendly front-end component library for web initially, and we're actually working on the mobile one right now. But by doing that and getting all the components we think we're going to need for the near term in place, and then putting really good rules in place for Roo Code in the form of rules files, or also the various modes that we use here. They're very well instructed to use this well-defined design system that it can also understand really well and not go off the rails. And so far, that's been working really well for us.
Yeah. So you're saying that you guys have been able to keep Roo Code, your cloud agents, sort of in their lane, even when a non-engineer is speaking to them in non-engineer speak. So I know I'm often guilty of this. I don't say, here, go change this specific, properly termed thing. I just say what I don't like. Like I don't like the way that element looks, and I don't name it properly. I sort of just describe it like a layman. And you guys have come up with rules and conventions, I guess. What are you guys using? Agents.md to help guide this?
We are not. We are still using the old school Roo Code config file, and then we also leverage highly customized modes here as well.
Well, one thing about agents, I guess, is people can create them and have these special instructions for the different agents, and I guess that could really help with this as well. Yeah, I don't know. Do you guys have anything else that you want to cover related to Roovet's specific use case here? I've got a few zingers. What's one task that you will never manually do again?
That's easy. Handwrite code.
Oh, wow.
I don't think I've handwritten a line of code in at least 6 months now. I've just completely changed my default workflow to ask AI, even if it's a one-line change, and I'm not even exaggerating. So that's obvious.
What would be your favorite prompt you actually saved? Like, something that you reuse over and over to get stuff done?
Yeah, I just actually unlocked a new one recently that I'm going to use a lot more going forward. And that is to ask the agent what design patterns we should apply to the problem we're trying to solve up front. I think that has, at least what I've seen the first few times I've tried this, is those magic words, design patterns, is creating much more elegant implementations than just kind of sometimes the brute force solution that we'll go to by default.
Yeah. Well, I guess one last question that I have directly for you would be, what is the most surprising place that a tiny PR that came out of your agent workflow shifted a big metric for you guys?
Shifted a big metric. The ones that come to mind are that decline shift request demo I gave. And then Danny probably remembers this one. I don't know what the metrics say, but a different PM was seeing a problem with a no data state in our search results. And after doing some research, he was realizing that people didn't realize they had a bunch of filters set. Just wasn't clear enough in the UX that was restricting their results, and they were seeing no shifts when they should have been. And Danny, I don't know if you remember that one, but that was one of the first, I think.
Theo who did that, right?
Theo did that one.
Theo, come over here. Come take a victory lap. Come on over here.
This is perfect because it leads me into my my next question, which is actually for Danny.
He looks miserable that he's been called over here. This is Theo. He's the longest running product manager here for sure. Maybe almost the longest running employee.
Yep. Almost 5 years.
Yeah. So how did you? Why were you investigating the no search results?
Wow, I can't remember. I've been investigating a lot of things. So, I don't know. It's something to do with like impressions, and I like question about it. And then there's like something in the data that didn't feel right. But then I looked in the product, and then I realized the product felt really broken because I was like, why am I not seeing any shifts on the page? And I thought I was like stupid, or there was like a bug in staging or dev. And then I realized I had like a filter that was on there that wasn't super clear. And then in my head, I'm like, if I'm having this problem, I feel like the rest of our veterinarians are not realizing this is on, and that's just really, they're probably like clearing out a bunch of shifts that aren't available.
Right. And assuming we don't have shifts, then what we do for them.
Yeah, exactly. In my first thought, I was like, okay, we need to like fix this right now. And then apparently there was a backlog ticket to do this, but no one was picking it up because, we're always like so swamped. And then I learned about Roo Code. This is before like Roo Mode.
Oh, really?
Yeah. So I was trying to figure out how to set up my environment, and that was the hardest part. I think I spent like 5-6 hours using like a mix of ChatGPT and like Roo Code to set up my environment. And I finally got it set up. Shout out to Justin Kwan, who also
So what was the solution?
The solution is like when there's like no search results, there's already like this component that pops up that says there's no search results. Try panning the page. But you could like we had a design to add like a deep link there to just clear your results there, so it's like super obvious that you can do that. And so at first, like Justin was telling me, yeah, right, like you're not gonna be able to do this. You're gonna need like Roo Node. You're gonna need to do all this. But luckily, like there was already a button and everything built in already, so I can do everything on the front end. And so after 5-6 hours of setup, it only took like 2 minutes to actually build the feature. Luckily that was like a really simple feature.
Yeah. So today, do you still use the IDE at all, or are you just everything goes to remotes?
Yeah, everything goes to remote because that thing changes like constantly, so it's always breaking. And yeah, I think remote is like the most convenient.
And so how often do you use it now, and what do you use it for?
Well, I think I use remote like every day to like ask questions about like the code base. I think that is like the most effective thing as like a PM, especially as we're like building new things. I can come in and have a really good understanding of like what we need to do. And then I haven't been really using it for like smaller fixes now because I feel like the engineering team and everyone else are already like picking up like a lot of that slack already with like remote. I know I've talked to like a few engineers and they're like, yeah, I already have like remote running this to fix this like small issue. So, and then any like bigger issues, I think at this point, it still takes a good amount of time. So I haven't like invested thoroughly. But yeah, I think the funny thing about remote is like you can ask it on the side and you can like get all this information. You can seem really smart to anyone at the conversation. Like I feel like you have
engineers are like, you've been pouring through the code, I see.
Yeah. Or like CS people come in, they're like, I think I know like what's happening. Like this is what it says. Like I think that's completely wrong. And I'm like, oh yeah, you're right. That is right. Yeah. So been a game changer for sure.
Easy.
Danny, I'd like to ask you a few questions.
Sure.
as the CEO of both Roo.vet and of Roo Code. This whole creation of Roo Code probably came as a bit of a surprise to you, as an attempt to increase the productivity within your own organization. Can you help me understand a little more of a vision for what you see people doing with these cloud agents as we move along and hopefully get them released to be tested, pre-release next week?
I mean, the vision with the cloud agents is actually just a continuation of the whole Roo story in general. We're taking discrete, mundane tasks that have to be done all of the time and automating them completely with an agent in the cloud doing that. So today that's PR review. We'll be releasing into our Teams product as well. The Slack integration that you've heard us talking about, but we'll be also adding things that we're already using internally, like an internationalization agent who, upon every change, goes and makes sure that the international strings files are up to date. A document writer agent who can review code changes and make sure to update the documentation associated with that particular code change. And on and on and on and on. You can imagine all of the various discrete tasks that a software development organization does. Many of those things can be automated with an agent, and we're doing that one at a time, both in a way where we can ship and you can take the agents that we're using today right off the shelf, plug them into your workflow, and get those running for you immediately, or the ability to customize those. One of the things that has always been a strength of Roo Code is that you can edit the prompts, you can create custom modes, and the agent infrastructure will be exactly the same, where you'll be able to take the unique aspects of your workflow and customize the agents to make sure that that they can help you to do those things. And that, that's kind of been the common thread back to the founding of the company. Many of you know that Matt and I we're working on ROOVIEWS with John and some of the other folks that you've met when we forked the Klein project to make it work for our needs, and in the process started accumulating many of the community members that are watching today or not, and it was and it was really largely in service originally around the need to write unit tests, to try to gain unit test coverage in our own ROOVIEWS code base so that we could take on more ambitious refactors. And in the pursuit of automating unit test writing, Roo Code is born, and now a fully separate company, a ROOVIEWS. You obviously heard that I am CEO of both, and balancing my time. But the two companies are now absolutely separate companies and operating. Although the special cultural spark that created Roo Code still lives in ROOVIEWS, and as such, the companies are deeply collaborating on what the future of software development looks like. And I sit in a great place to be able to facilitate that as CEO of both companies. So more to come. Excited for you to all start to see some of these features. It's important because these features do run in the cloud, and we have costs associated with that. These features are going to be part of our Pro plans and our Teams plans that you can. They're quite a value that you can sign up for now today, and you'll be getting these features and all of the ones that are in the pipeline first access to them. So if you're not already a subscriber, we'd really appreciate your support. We're a small team and not raising the hundreds of millions of dollars that you hear all of the other AI companies eye-popping figures, trying to stay true to our roots. And your support really helps us. So we thank you for being customers and for being users of Roo, even if being a customer isn't in the cards. So thank you.
Okay, that closes that segment, and we're going to move over to giving you guys a live demo of how you would set up one of these agents. We're going to set up a review agent. So let me just switch over to that screen. Here we go. Not going to be looking at the camera that much. And I'm in Roo Code here. You can access your Roo Code cloud right here. click here and hit visit Roo Code. Okay, this app.roocode.com loads up, and all you got to do is create your first cloud agent. I'm going to go with PR Reviewer. It automatically names it ROOVIEWS. Now, something interesting is we've got a generalist as well, and coming soon, document writer, bug fixer, security auditor, and translator, and also I think issue writer is going to be one that I'm going to push for, because I think that a issue is key to being able to get your large language model to achieve what you want. It acts as a prompt instead of just saying, fix X or Y. It can give some context to that prompt. So anyways, here we've got our ROOVIEWS, and we're going to go with open router. I'm going to paste my key in, and here we're going to go with Claude Sonnet 4.5. So it's really cool. This being released this week. We dropped this right into our workflows. We did not rewrite them based on Sonnet 4.5. So it's exciting to see that we're not breaking our workflows using the latest model, which we have seen at times. So the resiliency of our workflow is really starting to show. I'm going to click the GitHub button here to install and authorize. Yes, let's do all of them. Matt, chime in here if you have any questions, thoughts, inputs. I might be moving too quickly.
No, I mean, this is, we do our best to make this as easy as possible, but this is all because these cloud agents run in the cloud. We have to give them permissions to read your repo and, to act on your behalf.
Okay, so I'm going to hit continue. At this stage, I can select the repos that I want this to review. In this case, I can select only the one repo I have in this account. I can select the various authors, and I'm going to go with all authors, and we can provide some additional guidance. PR Reviewer comes with solid instructions for how to deliver valuable code reviews out of the box, and follows guidance in your .roo rules and agents.md files. If you want to provide additional guidance, include it here, and you can always update this later. So I'm not going to put anything else in there. This is going to be the out of the box experience. And I already have a PR made. Instead of making the PR on the podcast, I didn't want to spend, typically I do these demos and you got to watch Roo Code just spin by, and we don't really have time for that today. But this is a PR I have not looked over. I generated it with a pretty typical workflow. I made an issue and then told Roo in issue fixer mode that we use internally I pasted it the issue, and here's the issue. It is add a new indicator to the version number for unread release notes. This is specifically referring to this. Right now, if you click this, your latest release notes come up, but often when you update, you're in the middle of a workflow and you go, I don't want to see that anymore. So this PR would add an indicator that you need to clear to say, hey, there's something to read here, so you can keep up on the latest changes. I've got the issue and the PR is made, so I'm going to hit review. Okay, it's kicked off. Finish. Let's check it out. There we go. Now, this is one thing we are working on right now. The Docker container is booting up. Matt, you want to tell us about the process going on right now? We don't have a notification saying, waiting. What's happening right now?
Yeah, so this is coming back to running in the cloud. If you imagine the things you have to do to get around these environment setup steps, that we all have to go through at some point locally. It's actually setting up a Docker container. It's checking out the code. It's making sure that everything's cleaned up. There are also, Adam Gosu Coders alluded to this. A lot of teams also have like environment specific, customizations that you would do if you want it to be able to run linters and things like that. So we're also doing any setup, installing node modules and things like that. Try to make it as fast as possible. But I suspect there's more we could do on this front. It takes a little bit of time to get started.
Yeah. Okay. So here we have it going right now. I'm going to click into it. If any of you are familiar with remote control, this is exactly as you would see your control related to your actual environment. So I could create a task here and go, yada, 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 tell me a joke. And if I do that, that's going to create a task right here. See, tell me a joke. And that's exactly what we see going on with our reviewer. See, it's doing its thing. If you look, it was given a prompt. There's the URL, and here's some guidance, out of the box guidance on how to achieve this review. And it starts going through it. It's see here, it got the repo information so that when it needs to submit a review later on, it can get that handled. It's got nothing there. Checked out the specific PR. And so this is all happening exactly as it would in a regular Roo Code VS Code instance. Dan.
And it's doing
sorry, go ahead, Matt.
It's doing a much more, it's doing a very thorough PR, especially compared to how I do them manually, where I'm kind of known, I think, for just skimming through the diff and giving a thumbs up. But this is actually, it's checking out the branch. It's going to use all of its tools. It's following like a very detailed script that Dan wrote for how to do a very good PR. So much deeper than I've done as a human. Sorry, I just want to give that context.
No problem. Dan, can you tell us a little bit? Oh, and just if you see there, it had the auto question. It submitted a comprehensive review with all comments. That's the one it automatically selected. As someone watching, I could have actually intervened and started typing stuff down here. I didn't. So Dan, over to you. Do you want to tell us a little bit about the process that this reviewer is doing that makes it unique? Some of the battles that you've experienced while getting Roo Code to stay in its lane when doing a review and not just, commenting on something totally unrelated.
Yeah. As Matt mentioned, I think the first steps for this specific workflow is to just gather as much context as possible. Just if the model just takes a look at the diff and it doesn't know what the description of the PR is, it doesn't really understand why the change is being made. So the first steps is just gathering, all the context it needs, descriptions, comments. Maybe someone in the comments said, oh, we shouldn't do this like this. There's actually this other idea that's, better. And so all that goes into the context before actually reviewing the code. We do have in the workflow specific things like pay attention to translations and security, but most of it is just getting enough context to the model so that the model, models nowadays are really, really smart and they really know how code works and how to review it. So it's mostly just gather as much context as you can, take a look at all the files, take a look at the div, look for related files that might be broken or they're affected by the change. So at the end, the review is quite comprehensive. Like it pays attention to as many things as I could get it to pay attention. And as of lately, I've been like all the comments it left, or like 90% of the comments have been like, yeah, that's a great idea. Actually, I should probably do that change, or I can just ask Remote to make the change for me. So
can you tell us a little bit about here? I'm going to zoom in. Here's the review. We go back here. We've got a 5-minute window right now where this time's out. I could actually type something and select one of the modes in this repo and continue this on as a cloud agent. I could totally go into something different. But anyways, let's take a look at this review. Can you tell us a little bit about this? Like what's going on here?
So the remote left a review. It's not a simple comment. It's actually a full review. If you know how to review code on GitHub, it also contains inline comments with suggestions. So you can just, if Roo suggests a change, you can just commit it right away if it leaves a suggestion there. But what it's doing is just finding the problems in the code, leaving a comment exactly where the problem is, and if there's a suggestion, like a simple change that it can make, you can see it down there. You can just commit it right away.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So I'm not going to go as far as comment on the quality of this. This is the cool part about this is we have an out of the box experience that you can play with, but you're not tied to it. You get to adjust your reviewer to review how you want to review, which is a lot different than a lot of the other tools out there. And this is why Roo Code is very, very much different. You get to make your own reviewer, even though we will give you a framework. We'll provide you a framework and a template, and you can 100% adjust it. So, yeah. Let's take a look at what we're going to be doing. Who's going to get access, and when are they going to get access? Matt, do you want to tell us a little bit about this?
Sorry, so I hope very soon. We're working very hard on making this ready to roll out to everyone. And yeah, like Danny alluded to, these things are running in the cloud. They have some costs related to us for the infrastructure, so they're going to be part of our cloud paid plans. And we're going to roll them out to users, both individuals who are on the pro plan will have access to this, and then also people who are on our new Teams plan, which is $99 a month for as many people as you want on your team. They'll also have access to that. And with the Teams plan, you'll be able to do some kind of org-wide configuration of these things that makes it easier for you to have consistency.
So the team plan gets you unlimited pro plans.
Yeah, exactly. Plus some team management features.
Wow. I'm going to buzz over here to switch to a team and just do a quick run through here before we finish up. Quick run through of the different things that teams have access to. So I'm going to close this, invite your team members. I'm the only team member right now. We can go over here to settings, and under our organization settings, we can disable task sync. This will disable remote control, but this is, maybe for some reason you don't want task sync going for all your people. No problem. Task visibility. Allow the organization members to view tasks via links. Let members view tasks via direct links, even if they didn't create them. Allow for task sharing. Allow users to create shareable links for tasks that can be viewed. So you can restrict this to prevent them from sharing, potentially sensitive information. We have your ability to connect your Teams account to your GitHub and Slack, so you can get those integrations going. Some secrets here, so you don't have to be, giving out all your API keys and such to each and every member of your organization. You can hide all the MCPs in the marketplace, and you can even add MCPs specific for your organization. Another.
Yeah, and zooming out, I mean, we kind of stealth launched this last week because it was going to be so useful when we get these PR reviews out there. But this is also a feature that John and Roovet have been using for a while. It's just, a lot of features for making this easier for you to run code within your organization. I mean, the extension is free, and it's really easy for a whole team to just install Roo Code and use it. And a lot of teams do that. But you do run into a bunch of areas where we're trying to help with this Teams plan as well. Some of them are around customizing for your organization, like having custom MCPs that make sense with the configuration so that not everyone has to do that themselves. Setting up the providers, like making sure that people are using the right provider configurations for your org policies. And also just things that are more around training. Like, I don't know how many of you have been through this. Like, someone on your team is like, AI sucks. It didn't work for me. It deleted everything. And you really want to know, like, why did that happen and how did it happen? And a lot of these task sharing features are super helpful for just looking at what someone did and giving them coaching and guidance on how to make it better. So don't sleep on the teams. I think all these cloud agents are awesome and amazing in the future, but there's also a lot of value in just making it so that the Roo Code extension works better in a team setting. Yeah, excited for you all to try this out as well.
Yeah. Well, as you can see on screen, you can also set up a provider so that your users can have, basically you can share API keys this way without, putting them over Slack or Discord or, probably not Discord, but yeah. Anyways, I guess that puts this segment to rest. Thank you very much all for joining us. We were going to be going into some additional discussion about Sonnet 4.5 and GLM 4.6, but I think we went past our time here and we lost our presenter, Adam, Gosu Coder. So sorry about that, Adam, and we will for sure get this taken care of soon. Maybe we'll do a follow-up podcast to cover that stuff for people more interested in the latest happenings in the AI world. So thank you very much for joining us, and we'll see you next week.
Bye, Roo.